name is Remmer. I work currently at Lidl as a head of the operational logistics and waste management. I graduated here in Tagus Park, so it's for me also a pleasure to return to this university. I study industrial engineering and management, and basically I started at Lidl in 2015 as a project manager at the logistics department. While I was a project manager, my main goal was to optimize processes, control KPIs of the warehouses. And in 2017, I had the opportunity to go to the warehouse. So I was responsible for the goods out department that is responsible for managing the trucks and the supplies of the stores. And since of April of last year, I moved back to the logistics department, to the position that I shared with you. I will give also the opportunity to Inês to introduce herself and to let you know a little bit about her position.
Hi everyone, good morning. Hope you are as excited as us to do this presentation and to share this kind of information. So my name is Inês. I'm 40 years old, live in Lisbon with my husband and a small kid. Sorry for not being there in present. We have a COVID situation here at home. So who am I? I'm an environmental engineer. I graduated from the Universidade Portugal in Costa Rica. Since that time, I always thought that I was when I started my professional work that I was doing project management a little by site. So I went to IESTIEM and I did a post-graduation on project management. In the meanwhile, professionally, I've been working for several years in the coordination of environmental studies. And for example, the airports or other hotels, those kinds of projects. And in 2017, I was invited to go to Lidl, and I've been there for a year. And then I exited, and now I came back to the company. Really happy to make part of this company that we hope we are going to share with you its interests and what we do and how we do it. Thanks.
Okay, so we will, I don't know if it's moving. Murphy's Law. Não sei se... Just one second. The pointer is here.
Não está na apresentação.
Está na apresentação.
Tem foreground.
Okay, great. So basically our main goal for today is to give you an overview, okay, who Lidl is, how the logistics department is structured, and also how do we connect this to sustainability, which was the main purpose of the current day. So regarding Lidl, I believe most of you know Lidl, at least at the stores. Lidl is a company-owned it's family-owned, company, and it belongs to the Schwarz Group. So you have the Schwarz Group, Lidl, the big retailer, but you also have Kaufland. Kaufland is a retailer that is mainly focused in the eastern side of Europe. And then you have Schwarz Production, which are the suppliers and the facilities that we have in the group that produce certain products. For example, we have factories that produce ice cream, chocolate, and they all belong to the Schwarz Group. And then you have PreZero, which is the company that is mainly focused in waste management and recycling. So if you look at the KPIs of Lidl, we have currently Schwarz Group, we have 500,000 employees, over 125 billion euros in revenue regarding the last year. And also, we are currently the biggest retailer in Europe and the fourth in the world. Regarding some numbers for Lidl, we are currently in 32 countries. We have roughly 11,000 stores, over 200 warehouses. We have 300,000 employees, and we are currently the fastest growing retail brand, and also the fastest growing brand in Europe, but also the fastest growing retail brand in the world. Regarding Lidl, you know, if you look at the stores at the beginning, they don't look like they currently look. So if you looked at the store we opened in 1995, the stores looked like simple containers. If you look at store in Porto Salvo that you have, or in the A5 motorway, it's completely different, and it's also a better client experience when you go shopping. So we have currently, as of today, 269 stores, because we opened a last store today, one of the most recent store today. We have 8,000 employees, 4 warehouses, which I will explain in detail further on in this presentation, and 1 non-food warehouse, which I will also explain more in detail. Did you have this perception regarding Lidl? Did you have this idea? So regarding also regarding to Lidl, because we are currently the biggest German company also here in Portugal. We also we have Auto Europa, but regarding the scale, we are currently the biggest German company in Portugal. We are in third place regarding the market share, and also we have, over the 5 years, we generated roughly 9 billion euros over 5 years for the Portuguese economy, and also 40,000 jobs also in this time period. Regarding CSR, the corporate social responsibility, and you also placed this slide here because it makes sense regarding the topic that you wanted us to share. So we donated 3,000 tons of goods to institutions, and also made food donations to 375,000 people over the start of this program. We have 600 owned brand products with the certified sustainability certification, the rainforest and so on. 600 products that are from our own brand, they have the certification. And regarding one topic that is currently one critical topic, plastic, we have achieved some milestones in the last years. Some of them are written down in the slide, but we have the elimination of the plastic bags in our stores. We had initiative at the beaches where we gathered plastic, and with the volunteers we were able to gather 100 tons of plastic. And also, an interesting detail, we also produced shoes made by recycled plastic. So this was also one example where we could close the loop. Our goal is to have 100% recyclable materials in our own brand products, and by 25 also reduce by 20% the plastic production. But moving on to the interesting part, or at least for me, the logistics part, or more interesting part, we have here from the logistics side, does anyone have a guess how the supply chain is structured at Lidl? You want to guess? Feel free to also to place questions. So this would also be interesting for you. If you want, don't worry about making the wrong questions or the one wrong guess. The idea is also to have a perception of what you know, because as I said, I know what it means to be here in your position, because I didn't also have an overview of all the retail and the supply chain. So to give you a clue how we are structured, our supply chain always starts at the supplier. As I said, we have some suppliers that are part of the Schwarz group, but we also have normal suppliers. And from the volume, 60% of our volume are Portuguese suppliers. And normally, these suppliers send the goods to our warehouse. We have currently 4, as I said. And from the flows that we have, goods flow, we have food, which are the articles when you go to the store, chocolate, water, bread, the ambient, that aren't chilled goods. You have the non-food. By non-food, we mean the textiles. So you have the electronics, textiles, office supplies, and so on. You have the chilled and frozen goods. And you have also fresh meat, and at last the fruits and vegetables that we receive every day. So fruits and vegetables, for example, we receive every day. We ship them freshly every day. So the lead time for the fruits and vegetables is very, very short. How do these goods arrive at the store? That was the question that I was making. So we receive the goods from the supplier. and the store places an order to the warehouse. So we need so and so many cases of water, so and so many cases of cookies, and so on. And the warehouse, we call it picking. We basically prepare the order of the store on a pallet and ship it to the store. So usually, we as a customer, when we go to the store starts selling, but they also produce a lot of waste. So they have plastic, cardboard, and this is also generated by the store. You have empty pallets, and also, in some cases, food promotions that we don't sell, we need to send them back to the warehouse. And this produces or generates a reverse logistics. So we have to ship it back to the warehouse. So at the warehouse, then we have either waste management, because the warehouse also produces cardboard, plastic, and we also have to send to the non-food warehouse. Do you want to guess what it means to send it back to the non-food warehouse, or what it could represent? No? So by non-food, I'm trying to, so if you look at our stores, usually you see, okay, did you already have the experience, you wanted to buy a certain article, you go next week and it's not available anymore? We have a short term for the non-food articles. For example, spring, we have the lawn mowers and so on. But it doesn't make sense to have a lawnmower during the winter. So we have a short lifespan. We keep the articles at the store, and after a while, we send them back to the warehouse. When they come back to the warehouse, we consolidate all the articles that were sent by the stores and send a full truckload to our non-food warehouse. And when spring arrives again, we send the articles back to the stores. And to support all these flows, we have the logistics at the headquarters. They are the main focus of the logistics at the headquarters is basically to support our warehouse operations. So to give you a more detailed view regarding our warehouse, this is our warehouse in Torres Novas. It's a view from the top. And if you focus the yellow area, I don't know if you can see the yellow area, and you follow the arrow, usually the trucks dock on the left side, and the goods move inside the warehouse to the right side. So here you have a view from the top. I don't know if you can see it correctly, but you can see that on the back, you can see some pallets that are stacked on top of each other. So if you look at the warehouse, usually you have these fast movers on the floor. For example, a store doesn't order one bottle of water. They ordered a full pallet because we sell a lot of water. These articles are placed on the bottom, on the floor, which is the first area that you can see over here. And then you have the racks, which are the metal structures where we store the goods and hide. These are the slow movers. For example, whiskey. Whiskey is an article that you don't sell in a lot of volume. So you have a few pallets. So it doesn't make sense to occupy the floor space with whiskey. So you place it on the top side. So this is just to give you an overview. This is the layout of a warehouse. But if you convert this to a blueprint, this is basically the same warehouse, but a view from the top. So you have the area of the fast movers and the area with the slow movers. Is it clear regarding this layout? And regarding the warehouse areas, if you want to divide it,
What's the percentage of floor and rack?
I would say that the fast movers represent roughly 40% of the volume that we have. Because we have some cases, but because the example that I showed you here is the ambient area. But you also have to consider that we have a chilled area, the frozen area. There are a lot of areas in the warehouse. So roughly 40%. So if you look at it from the top, to position yourselves, because usually we receive some students at our warehouses, if you had to locate yourself at the warehouse, so we have the first area, the yellow area, which is the area where the trucks unload. Then you have the red area, where you unload the goods and you count them. We have the racks, as I said, the slow movers, the bulk, which is the fast movers, and the last area is after we finish the picking process, we have to place the articles in the goods out lanes before we ship them to the stores. So this is basically the layout of the warehouse, but there are certain tasks that are performed in our warehouse. So if you look at from the process view, you have the trucks that arrive, And then we start the goods flow of a warehouse. So 6 o'clock in the morning, the truck driver arrives and he starts unloading, in this case, the worker at the warehouse starts unloading the goods. After you unload, you start counting. So you have to say, okay, our supply chain department, which places the orders, they ordered 50 pallets or 33 pallets of a good. How many goods did we receive? 27. Okay, there's a difference. So we have to check what we are currently receiving. Then we have the picking process. So this has two phases. This is a forklift, and he's currently storing the goods in the rack. So we count it, we receive, everything is okay. We need to store it. We store it. Then we have to pick it. And this is what we call the picking process. Basically, the store ordered these articles, and the warehouse worker is picking case by case and building a pallet. Similar process we have in the bulk area. Also, same procedure. Storage, this is a machine that can transport 3 pallets at once. In the bulk area, he's storing the goods on the floor. And this worker, I don't know if you can see, but if you notice, this has all the same color. So it's all green, correct? It's one article. So the store orders 1 pallet of mineral water, for example. Or the store ordered 1 pallet of toilet paper. In this case, so this is the difference if you look at it, if you compare it with the previous slide. Here, a lot of cases. In the other one, single product pallets. And when you finish the picking process, so you finish by placing the articles in the line, correct? The area 5. When they are picked, the truck driver has to load the articles so that we ship them to the stores. Does it make sense to you? Any questions regarding the logistics process? Did you have any idea or clue that it was structured like this? Does anyone have a guess or would like to guess how many pallets do we receive and ship per day? Don't be shy, don't be scared. There's no correct answer. I wouldn't have any idea when I started at Lidl how many pallets we ship per day. Does anyone want to guess? 100,000 maybe. How many? 100,000 pallets per day? Okay, a little bit, yeah. It's roughly 2,000 pallets that we ship per day. In cases, you convert this in 140,000 cases. Because of so on average per day, a warehouse you can roughly estimate 2,000 pallets that come in, 2,000 pallets that come out. So there's always, okay, there are certain days where we receive more, but also certain days that we ship out. But by the end of the week, there's always a balance in the volume that we receive. So this basically was just to sum up how we are structured at the warehouse. But then we have to send the goods to the stores. So the warehouse prepares the goods, they arrive at the store. This is a more visible area because you can see the workers at the store and what they are currently doing. But we have, usually the process is more or less similar as a warehouse, except the part where we are selling or contacting with the salesperson, the customer. So they have to also count, they receive the goods, count, have to replenish the shelves, sell the goods to the cashier, clean the store. It's also a process that is also ensured at the warehouse. Customer service, waste management, as I said, the plastic and the cardboard. And the last part, the store returns. What do I mean by store returns? Non-food that doesn't sell goes back to the warehouse. Certain promotion. For example, we did a wine promotion and it didn't sell in a specific area. We have to send it to another store that is selling more of this article. So we have the store returns. Did you have this perception? I know as a customer we can see what's going on in the store, but did you have an idea that you have these processes at the store? Has anyone worked at a store? Not a Lidl store, a normal retail store. The experience of working at a retail store? No? Okay. It's similar, yeah. Because at the store you have the picking, the warehouse you have the picking process where you build the pallet from scratch. The store has to do the other process, that is deconstructing the pallet so that they replenish themselves, basically. This is currently the store that we have here in Porto Salvo. It's nearby here to the university. And also, regarding the supply chain, I know it's in yellow, it's not very visible, but as I said, we have the reverse flow, so lawnmower that we didn't sell. The store sends it to the non-food warehouse or to the warehouse, and then we ship it to the non-food warehouse. And we do this basically because if we each store sent the articles to the non-food warehouse, we would have very low pallets, and we would be transporting air, because store A has 3 cases, store B has 2 cases, and if we don't ship them to the warehouse, we don't have the opportunity to consolidate the loads, and instead of shipping one pallet with 20 centimeters of height, we can ship a pallet with 2 meters, and this reduces a lot of the transportation costs. So after it arrives at our warehouse, non-food warehouse, this is our warehouse in Porto Alto. What do? They receive 2 types of goods: the unsold goods, but they are still okay, in good conditions, that they have to check that the store delivered and build pallets from scratch, like the pallets from the supplier, so that we can ship them later on back to the stores. And then we have the damaged goods. When a customer says, okay, this hair cutter isn't working, when it arrives at the Porto Alto warehouse, non-food warehouse, they try to repair it. They have limited options, but in some cases it's just replacing the battery, and then it's working again. So we can ensure that we don't waste or produce waste immediately just because it's not working at an initial stage. And the last part, the logistics headquarters, which is the area where I and Inês are working currently. So at the headquarters, we have, our main goal is to monitor the operation, support the warehouses, and also develop new concepts. So for example, we have 3 departments. We have the central logistics, which the main goal is to negotiate the conditions with the transportation companies, external warehouses, and also strategic planning. The central logistics has also one example of a task. They need to plan which are the sales in 2036, and then compare it with the capacity of our warehouses and see, okay, is it feasible with the current structure to ensure that we can supply the stores or not? And by this analysis, we can also decide, okay, we need an additional warehouse. We need to expand the warehouse. And then we have, at least at the last part, they control the KPIs of the warehouse. Operational logistics, which is my department, we are focused in defining new standards. For example, we have a new article that requires that the warehouse needs to measure the temperature, or it's a new procedure. We define the procedure, test it, and train the warehouses. And also, we try to optimize processes. Does anyone want to guess what's a possible optimization in a warehouse? For example, you saw the layout that I shared. What would be your guess regarding the optimization?
Reduce food waste.
Could be. Food waste is one alternative. Any other guesses? So we have a lot of costs that are produced. So our waste management is not only food waste, but also the cost waste that we produce. We eliminate the waste in costs. Does anyone have a clue where we could also gather waste? Is one, another one? Food waste? If you look at the warehouse layout from the top, you had a lot of goods, but it's not always ideally located. For example, if you have a very heavy article in the beginning, or a very like chips are very light but very big. If you place the chips at the beginning of the layout when you are doing the picking process, and then you have to pick water bottles or wine, you are placing the wine on top of the chips. First, you are damaging, you are increasing the waste, but it's also not very productive because you won't be able to build a big pallet. If you put chips on the bottom, I can assure you, if you build a pallet more than 50 centimeters, it's going to fall down. So this is also productivity. So you waste less time in moving the cases from one side to another to build the pallet. And also, one example of optimization is to increase the filling of the trucks. For example, if you have a store that on average receives 120 pallets per week, a truck usually has a capacity for 33 pallets. So it's more or less 4 full trucks. But imagine that this store receives 7 times per week. This means that the truck isn't full every time it delivers to the store. Adapting and optimizing the amount of deliveries per store also optimizes directly the amount that we have to pick, but also deliver to the stores. And this is also some examples of optimizations that we can do. And then we have the last department, which is the new projects. This is specific country by country, but our context in Portugal is currently very interesting because we are basically changing the whole logistics network. So we opened a new warehouse last year in Santo Tirso. It's semi-automated. I will show you some images. We expanded the warehouse of Torres Novas in 2019. And we are planning next year to open the biggest warehouse in Portugal, in Loures. So that's why we have a specific department focused on the new projects. And I don't know if you saw this in the news, but we also have Madeira. We are going to expand to Madeira with the stores. And this is also an interesting challenge regarding the logistics because containers aren't always available and you take a little bit more time to deliver to the stores. So it's an interesting challenge regarding this topic. Yes?
Can I ask where is the logistics headquarters located?
From the Lidl in Lignon. It's nearby Sintra.
Okay.
So it's very nearby to the warehouse. So we have currently a very interesting combination because if you start at Lidl, in I believe 500 meters, you have a store, you have the headquarters, and you have a warehouse. So you basically can see the whole process, picking the headquarters and the store. You can analyze all the process in 500 meters. So regarding the logistics network, as I said, I was going to explain a little bit how we are structured. So we have our new warehouse in Santo Tirso. It has the new SAP system, and this is a new trend in Lidl. We have some warehouses that are working with SAP. This is also more from a sustainability point of view. It's more robust system, and we are more planning to the future. This is the future that we want to embrace. We have in Torres Novas, which has the old system. Sintra, which is our oldest warehouse, and it's nearby to the headquarters, as you were asking. And Palmela. Palmela, it's more or less Marateca, the area. Regarding Sintra, as I said, we are going to expand to Loures, build a new warehouse, and it's going to be the biggest warehouse that we have in Portugal. It has 54,000 square meters. Regarding Santo Tirso, as I said, it's the most recent warehouse. It's semi-automated, so it has SAP. This is one simple image of the Cielo. We call it Cielo. Why do I say semi-automated? Because it receives the goods and it stores the goods in height. So you can roughly store in this area 24,000 pallets. And it has a throughput of 300 pallets per hour. And this is currently quite high. It's 42 meters high. So we have a conventional area, like a normal warehouse, but then we have a specific area, semi-automated, for storing the goods. And as you see, I don't know if you memorized, but Loures is going to have 54,000 square meters. This one has 48,000, but will supply more stores, and supplies currently more stores than Loures. And this is because it has more capacity per square meter, because they can store just in the Cielo area almost the same capacity as in Loures, the whole ambient area. So this was also in the news. Just the Cielo area represented roughly an investment of 70 million, just the automated area. And just to give you also an overview, this is the current image of the warehouse in Loures that we have, that is currently working. And just to show you a simple overview. So here you have the Cielo. In this area is the office of the management team of the warehouse. So the team that manages the goods in, the goods out, and the goods selection. So this is basically just an overview. Unfortunately, we didn't have videos to share from the inside, but it's from the process here, it's quite simple. you receive the counter checks the pallets, and they put in a lane the pallet, and the robot pushes the pallets, checks if the size of the pallets is okay, and then proceeds to store automatically the pallets in height. And then it manages, because we have some redundance. Imagine we have some how you say, forklifts, but automated forklifts, and we have to have some redundance. Imagine if a pallet of olive oil falls down from 42 meters, it takes some time to clean that up because it's a challenge. So we have some redundance regarding the articles. So aisle 1 has olive oil, but aisle 2 also have olive oil, so that if one of the forklifts isn't working, we can keep the Cielo working. And it is a challenge. We imagine, but it has already happened a lot of times, because some pallets are not optimal, and you have to also toilet paper isn't very critical, but everything that has a fluid, it's a challenge. And this, before we entered the sustainability, was just from the logistics point of view, the goal was to give you an overview. Any questions that you would like to place regarding the logistics side, what we do, where we are located? Any question that you want? Yes?
On the previous image,
Yeah.
on the warehouse,
Yes.
there's like a logo, SAP, no, the previous one.
Yeah.
Part of your group.
SAP is a solution that we have that we are implementing in the warehouse. Every warehouse that is automated at Lidl has to have this solution, because this is the only way to manage our automated solution. But Santo Tirso is very peculiar in this sense, because they have SAP in all areas. So fruits and vegetables, fresh meat, everywhere. And we are currently working with the system, and Lourdes is also going to have this system. Yes?
I also have a quick question. I think it was in the next image. I saw there were some solar panels.
Mhm.
Is that right?
Yes.
You have that in every warehouse.
Yes, so we have solar panels, but not only solar panels. We are substituting, because some of our warehouses are quite old, with LED lighting, and we have a very interesting solution, because I never saw this up until I went to Santo Tirso. We have solar tubes. Solar tubes the concept is quite simple. You have a cylinder with mirrors inside, and has the natural light comes from the top, and with the mirrors you amplify the light. It almost works as the normal lighting. So you reduce the amount of lighting LED lighting and so on. So we try to integrate as much as possible these solutions. So LED, solar panels. Also regarding the cooling system. So we are currently investing also in CO2, because the cooling system has different components. You have CO2, ammoniac, and it's like heat exchanger. And CO2 is more efficient. So we are also trying to replace these fluids for the cooling systems of the warehouse. Any questions regarding logistics? No?
About the non-food warehouse,
Mm-hmm.
is that a common thing in supermarkets? I didn't know. I mean, when they came back, the
Mhm.
articles that they don't sell, is that a common thing to get them in a warehouse?
It depends. Regarding Lidl,
The supermarkets would lower the prices, so they didn't have to get
you also, that's correct. So in some cases, imagine that you have, instead of cases, you have a low amount of units. That doesn't justify to transport it back to the warehouse. In those cases, you have those stickers, yellow stickers, that are orange stickers with the price reduction. In those cases, we do the price reduction. But we try to keep the cycle of the articles and not destroy them, because they're still good and they're still in the original packaging.
You gave that example about the spring iron.
Yeah.
So, in that case, it's most common to lower the price, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, with the electronics articles and all that, I think they would keep them
Yes.
next year. But that spring items, maybe it's more.
It depends on the size of the article. For example, a lawnmower, it's a very high price. So either you buy a lawnmower or you don't buy a lawnmower, or a compressor. It's very depends from the trends. But it's varies depending on the article. But that's correct. For example, during the summer, you have the summer articles that you use for you only sell during the summer. During the winter, nobody buys a rubber ducky or something like that. So it's part of our process. Yeah.
I just have, just out of curiosity.
Sure.
I think something that happens in Lidl that doesn't happen so often in other supermarkets. Thank you. Is that you have more temporary products. For example, if someone that I know buys electronic in one supermarket, maybe 1 week after, and I go in there to find the same product, it's not there anymore. So it's interesting how you have variety, but not for a long time. How does that work? Like, is there any criteria for a product to stay longer? And I'm not talking about seasonal product, like not just in summer or just in the winter.
So it's structured in different ways. So it starts in 1 year. You do an analysis. What are going to be the trends of the next year? And we also have Lidl in China also, where we have it's not stores, but it's the part for the production and so on. And they plan beforehand what are going to be the trends. For example, we had COVID, or we still have, unfortunately, but a lot of people started building stuff at home. So that's a trend that you have to adapt and try to sell for the customer, doing things at in your garden. So more gardening articles. So we plan it, and then we focus on the stores that have the higher probability of selling. So that's why also you have in some stores low amounts, in other stores more amounts, because someone that lives more in the countryside is very more likely to buy a lawnmower than someone that lives in the center of Lisbon. And that's also what influences the amount of articles that we have selling in each store.
I just have one last question.
Yeah, sure.
So my favorite thing about Lidl is actually the bread and the fresh goods. So I don't think that you store that in the warehouse, right? You have actually like a pastry or I don't know. Does that happen in every Lidl store? Do they cook or do they bake their own pastries and bread every day?
You have different types of articles, but usually it starts at the supplier. You receive the frozen bread, store it at the warehouse, ship it to the store. And every store produces the bread or cooks the bread at the store. Then we have specific articles like, how do you say in English, bolrei. It's a typical Christmas cake. You receive it at the store. It's chilled. Goes at the warehouse. You ship it also to the store chilled, and the store only defreezes the article because it's already prepared. So it depends. Most of the bread is cooked on the day that you buy it. Some articles, specific cakes, they are defrosted at the store.
Okay, thank you.
Any more questions regarding logistics, or we can proceed to the sustainability part of this side? Okay. So regarding sustainability, this will be the one last slide, and then I'll pass also the word to Inês. So regarding sustainability, we talked about costs, waste management, as you were saying. Transportation is one of the biggest costs that we have in the logistics side. It represents a big percentage of our costs as a whole in the company. So what do we do regarding the transportation costs? We try to, as I was saying, optimize the store deliveries, because optimizing store deliveries, more volume per truck, less trucks that we need. And this directly influences the amount of CO2. The truck optimization, we try to also increase the cases per pallet. It makes a lot of difference if you increase from 66 cases per pallet to 69. By the end of the year, this is a lot of money when you reduce the amount of trucks. And also the optimization of the trucks. You try always to have the truck full. We calculate not in volume, in floor space. On average, a truck, I say on average because you have specific trucks that are smaller, but you have trucks with 33 pallets. If a truck has 33 pallets, it's 100% full. But you have the problem, if the pallet is like this high or this high, it's different. It's a difference between transporting air or not. And we control this factor with the cases per pallet. More cases, more volume. And also one topic that we do usually to optimize the costs is the route optimization. For example, imagine that we have a supplier that is placed nearby to a store. When we deliver the store, we use the same truck to pick up the goods and bring them to the warehouse. And the supplier pays us to bring the goods to our store. So we are optimizing the flow from our trucks to the warehouse. And the last, we are currently investing in natural gas trucks. The gas trucks, it's an investment more focused in sustainability, because the main benefit of gas trucks is the CO2 emissions. And we are currently investing more and more in this solution. And to show from an operational side of view, what are the optimization? I don't know if you can see from there, but the first graph shows the cases per pallet. So our constant focus in optimizing the amount of cases per pallet, 60, 64, 66, and also the average usage rate of the vehicles. So we try as much as possible to keep the trucks full. So on average, 2019 we started with 91%, but 2021, 92.7%. And our goal is always to optimize the store deliveries as much as possible, either from the cost perspective, but also CO2 emissions is always a factor that results indirectly from this. And I would like also to pass the word to Inês, which also will give you an overview regarding the waste management that is also produced at the stores, but also at the warehouse. Inês?
Okay. Hi, everyone. Could you just turn me to the room so that I can see everything? So, okay. Oh, okay. Now I can see you more or less. Okay, great. So I hope that what we shared was useful in order for you to understand how we are different from other companies. I hope that you realize that sustainability for us goes inside in the core of our production, let's say. So for example, if you have a presentation, now I'm looking at the ceiling. I'm not looking at the, yeah, great. For example, if you have a presentation from other companies, probably who comes here is someone from the Department of Environment, and they will talk about what they do. Here in Lidl, we don't have an environment department. You will have environment in all the company, and you can be in logistics and work in projects related to environment, and you can be in facility management. They have, for example, the solar panels thing, and you still work on environmental issues. So you can be in several areas of the company and still work on environmental issues if that's what drives you. So my question now would be, let me just share my screen so that it works better. Just a second. Yeah. So my question to you is, what do you think we produce as waste in our stores and in our warehouses? What comes to mind? Anyone? Something? No? Great. Plastic. Yeah. I hear plastic. Okay. More? Any other ideas? What do we produce at home? And what do you think is produced in the warehouses? Come on, guys, just one or two examples. No?
Paper?
Sorry?
I heard
Paper. Yeah. And I'll go with this. So because paper is actually our star of the company. So paper and plastic, and when I mean plastic, I mean the foil, the one that wraps the pallets. Okay, they are the stars of the company. They are there's a market for it. So we are paid. We have profit by selling cardboard and by selling that film. Plastics is now having a market again, so it's getting quite interesting also to sell. but it's still a work in process. That happens because the European Commission declared war on plastics, as you might have heard. So the production of plastic is shrinking, and therefore the interest on the material is getting bigger. So we are getting more interest in our plastic as a waste. That's why I put here on the slide the waste slash material. So for us it's waste, but for other companies it's material, and they do things with our waste. So we have here for the example of the cardboard. We have here the detergents. We also have here what we produce as waste, the vegetables and the fruit. We have unfortunately a crash on some of the products that we sell, because the consumer looks at, for example, a lettuce and just touches it like all the way around, and it then gets with a sad look, and it has to go to waste. So this is also another waste that we produce in our stores. We have wood, for example, and we also have, for example, fish and meat that are not great for consumers, and that we just have to send it to waste, let's say. But the most important thing that you must take in note, and that we would like to share with you regarding this waste management and how it's important for the sustainability, is to avoid the mixture, to prevent that fish gets mixed with meat and it gets mixed with cardboard, because if we have things separated, then we can use it as material. But if we have all the things mixed, then we cannot do anything with it. So if you work in Lidl, you have to have this drive and this orientation of, we need to address this issue of separating the different kind of waste if we want to be sustainable, and if we want to make an impact in the world. But I give you here two examples, and you have to have in mind that to do so, you have to know your processes. So that's why Hans just shared with you so much of what's a process within Lidl. You cannot be sustainable if you don't control your processes. You have to know where the article comes from, where it goes to, where it crashes, where is used, where is not used. For example, one of the questions that you made of how do you select what articles in what stores? That's also sustainability. But you have to control your process. You have to know your client, and that's what we do in Lidl in a large scale. So I give you here an example. Why do we separate fish from meat? Yeah. So if we have all the thing mixed together, we'll get there. We will only be able, if we mix fish and meat and vegetables and everything, in the best case scenario, we have to send it to composting. And if we are in the coast, like in Lisbon or in Porto, um, usually when we have this kind of mixture, we send it to incineration. And incineration is like the one of the lowest destinies, not one of the lowest solutions that you can give to waste. So if we don't want to do that in Lidl, what we do is we separate meat and we separate fish, and we are able to send it to animal food. But if we mix them all together, it doesn't go to animal food. Okay, so that's important for you that's what we felt was important to share with you, because for example, this costs a lot of money. We have in our stores, we have a procedure which is very complex of different bags, and our colleague in the stores gets the fish, and it puts it on one bag, gets the meat, puts it on another bag, seals it up, everything. And we invest in maintaining the cold the cold in the product all the time, and also the collection is made through through vehicles that are also have a cooling system. So see here that even though this is waste, we are still investing a lot on maintaining this kind of waste, like, let's say, healthy, so that it can be used afterwards. Okay, so any questions until now? No? Okay, I'll move on. So regarding the sustainability, we also wanted to like press again on you have to know your processes in order to be sustainable. So um, here in the sustainability, when you think about sustainability, you have like a framework, right? Of you have to fulfill a legal requirement, you have to obtain financial income, for example, like selling the cardboard or selling plastic. You want to contribute. Sorry for that. There's a V there that shouldn't be there. So you want to contribute to sustainability. You want to do the right thing in the world, or you want to align with the brand strategy, the CSR, the corporate social responsibility, or you want to adapt to future requirements. Anyone knows what PATE is? Have you ever heard of this? No? Okay, so PATE stands for pay as you throw. And it means that the idea, the future of paying for producing waste will be that you won't pay like a tax when you go to the landfill, and you pay a tax no matter if you produce like 1 ton or 100 tons. The idea here is that companies and people in general um, will be able to save money if they produce less waste. So this is the idea that when you start thinking of sustainability in a company, you start thinking about all this framework, right, of legal requirements, paid, contributing to sustainability, all these things. But what we wanted to share with you is that you need to know your processes in order to apply this on the day-to-day. So on the day-to-day activities, you have different stakeholders that will influence all this framework that you had. You have your clients, which would be public administration, like for example, the Agência Portuguesa do Ambiente, APA, and you have ONGs, and you have, in our case, international headquarters, and you have other departments and warehouses and stores and the disposal companies that come and collect our waste. And all these stakeholders, all these clients of yours will be making pressures on you regarding that framework. Like and also you will have the decision makers inside the company. You have your administration, your management, your peers, and governance on certain issues on other departments. And all these stakeholders will pressure you regarding this framework that you have on sustainability. So for one side, you have to do your homework, like studying what's your framework on sustainability, and also you have to address all the intents of your clients and your decision makers. What do I mean by this? We have, for example, a great idea, which would be, I don't know, just use plastic for something else, like a state-of-the-art thing. And it's a great idea regarding sustainability, but your administration or your management is going to ask you, how much does that cost? And you will, and what's the cost and benefit, right? And you have to be able to answer that question if you want to work in sustainability. It's not just oh, sustainability is great and we should go that way. You should also be able to weight the benefits and the costs of the solutions you are proposing. And that's what's very interesting in Lidl and in working in Lidl, is that it makes you, on one side, study your framework,
and know your legislation, for example. The waste area is, for example, very focused on legislation. You have to do your work, your homework, and you also have to address all the pressures you are submitted to regarding your peers and your decision makers and your clients. Okay, so I give you here examples for sustainability, like what we do in Schwarz Group. As Hans said in the beginning, so Lidl is part of the Schwarz Group, an international group. So, for example, we have the plastic that we use for different articles that we then sell on the stores, like, for example, the plastic bags or the water bottles. And we also have the cardboard, which is used to produce new boxes. I also share with you one example of what I thought, what we thought, Hans and me, that you would like to know, given your academic background, which is this process that it's pioneering in Europe. It's the Pre-Zero Pyrrole initiative. So the idea here is that we recover aluminium through a pyrolytic process, so without oxygen. And we are able to sort the aluminium per alloy, and it allows for aluminium reuse, namely in deodorant packaging. So this is an initiative, like an international initiative. So how it works is our international headquarters, they share with you that, okay, we have this, and our deodorant will now be more sustainable. Okay, so this is the kind of process that we have in Lidl, and I hope that it got your attention. So I don't know if you have any questions or things that we can answer. Just
We have a
yeah,
question.
yeah, sure. Let me see. If I don't understand, I'll ask Hans to. Yeah. Oh, thanks. That's great.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yeah, yeah, I do.
Okay,
Yeah, yeah.
you talked about the clients and the decision makers, but you didn't mention the suppliers. Do you have any requirements for the suppliers of your products? Like,
Yeah, 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 we do, we do. Yeah, I can share that. For example, we have annual. We do an annual consultancy of who wants to work with our bales of foil, for example, and we have introduced sustainability criteria there, namely. The proximity between our warehouses and the factories of where they turn our old cardboard into new cardboard. So what we are intending here to do is to pull our suppliers with us and to close the loop. And we are trying to make them invest in Portugal in factories, because they will be recompensated by having our bales. And we can do that with the cardboard bales and the foil bales, because they have a market, as we discussed. So it's interesting. There's a procurement, let's say. So the supply, they want to buy our cardboard and our foil. So we have a leverage there, and we are trying to use it to be more sustainable. Yeah.
and does it apply to all the countries where Lidl is, or only Portugal?
Yeah, well, I can share with you that this has been a Portuguese idea. So it has come from our team to do that, and it's very recent to do that in our procedures. We are also doing that regarding decarbonization. So but that's a process that we are starting, and we are going to bring the suppliers and to ask them to report on their carbon usage, and we select them according to that, because as Hans said, transportation is a real issue on logistics side. So we are trying to understand if our suppliers have a lot of CO2 or not, and we are going to punctuate them according to their criteria on decarbonization. Yes, but this is that's a project that it's starting. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, great. So do you have any other questions? Okay. Great.
Yes, I have a question regarding transportation. So I think it was mentioned in the beginning of the presentation that it is one of the biggest costs. So I guess that in terms to sustainability, that also translates a little bit. So do you own your own trucks? Are you responsible for this process, or do you hire an external service to do so?
That's a good question. We have it's external, so our trucks are 100% external. We work with transport carriers, and this gives us the flexibility because regarding transportation, we have always a component regarding the risk. So the trucks have different costs, the maintenance and the investment, the amortization. It's always an investment, but you have also costs associated, and you have a decrease in volume. You are depending on if your fleet is too big, you don't have a lot of opportunities to optimize your fleet. So externalizing gives you some flexibility, but also makes you dependent from external providers. But the market is big, so this gives you the opportunity to always negotiate with them and try to improve this cost. But currently at Lidl, it's external. Any more questions? It can be also either from the sustainability, waste management. Feel free. It's also your opportunity to get a better view of how we are working.
I actually have another question, but it was more about the international side of Lidl. So, as Inês mentioned, you will sometimes receive some sort of tips from the international headquarters. For example, the deodorant example. Is that very often that I think it was a pre-zero comes up with a lot of new innovative ideas, or is it something more? It's not as innovative as it should be because sometimes companies start these sort of initiatives and they can't deliver because the costs of being sustainable don't match the benefits a lot of the times. So how often is this new initiative from the Schwartz group coming up with new ideas?
I'll let Inês explain on some examples from pre-zero, but as a whole, the company, the benefit of being in 32 countries is that we have a big scale. So something that applies in Spain or in Slovakia or Romania, it can be a good idea for all of the countries. So not only in pre-zero, our headquarters in Germany have always a person or a figure that is the contact person for a group of countries. Precisely for that, for monitoring the cost, but also to share the knowledge that is gathered from other countries. For example, you have currently a big struggle in the UK with truck drivers. Maybe they have a solution that can apply to other countries that also have the same problem. So this is a normal practice in the company. So we share a lot of inputs. Either also from Portugal. We can gather some ideas from Portugal and share them with other countries. But this example that Inês was sharing, it's an example that you say, okay, this applies almost to every country. Inês, do you want to add something to this point?
No, I just wanted to say that well, you have here like two people that work in Lidl, so if you have any questions regarding like how would my life be there, we can share with you. So feel free to pose your questions. So for example, there was a question regarding where's the headquarters. They are near Sintra, yes. But for example, we have we work remotely, and that's happening. We only have to go to the company like 3 or 2 days per week. So that would be like interesting for you, I believe. We also have an internship project that tends to lead you from getting into Lidl as an intern and then going all the way up to the management and administration. So that would also be probably interesting for you. I don't know. I'm trying to put myself on your shoes of what would be interesting for me if I was there. The main thing here is that we are a kind of a recent company, so there's a lot of space to do things. So we are a big company, but we kind of work like a startup. And if that's interesting for you, please take a look. Because, for example, you won't find, if you like retail, you won't find that kind of, how do you say, buzz, let's say, in other retailers, which are more structured and on the market for a long time. As we said, we don't have yet an environment department, and it's something that it's going to happen. We feel like it's going to happen, but it's not already set. So if you want to be part of this change and to grow up with us, please take Lidl in your hearts to see if that's interesting for you. And if you have any other questions of how is the day-to-day thing, please feel free to pose your questions. Yeah.
Yeah, I might add, so as I said, I studied here. I started in a consulting company, mainly focused on optimizing processes. I decided to change because I wanted to get some experience in a specific area. Because in a consulting company, I felt that I was in different areas, but I didn't specialize in anything really. So Lidl was the match. I knew it because the German side of my family, I knew it as a customer. But if you look at Lidl 25 years ago or 20 years ago, you have some details that also share this focus in optimizing processes. For example, uh, Lidl 20 years ago, you had a single pallet instead of cases on the shelves. It was a full pallet, always a full pallet. Why? Because it's more efficient like that. You ship it from the warehouse as a pallet, and you replenish it as a pallet in the warehouse. And that made me also think, okay, this might be interesting because the company, we started as hard discount, but we aren't hard discount anymore. But we still have this DNA of optimizing the processes. And this was what made me change. And then at Lidl, I had, fortunately, and this is common in our company, the opportunity to start at the headquarters. But I also changed to the warehouse because I had the need to go to the operations and learn more from the operational side of it. And now I'm back at the logistics department. So we have different ways for someone that is interested in retail to experience the company. So as Inês was saying, the trainee program is something that you can, and we will also have outside some HR colleagues that can explain you this more in detail if you want to learn more. But from a trainee side, you can experience different departments, and then you decide, okay, I want to work in this department or this department. You can enter directly to the warehouse because you know, okay, I feel operations is what I want. But then you decide, okay, I like operations, but I like the equilibrium between operations and the analytics side. So I want to change to headquarters. So we have, it's a common practice. And we are present in 32 countries, so this is a network, and we have this constant communication. And from a logistics point of view, if this is something that interests you, as I said, our logistics network currently is changing a lot. 2019, we expanded a warehouse, 21 new warehouse, next year a new warehouse again. So this is something that is going to change a lot in the next years. So, sure.
It is common for people who work here in Portugal to go to other headquarters
Yes.
in other countries.
Yes, very common because we have different dynamics. So we opened recently in the USA. It's a complete different reality. So we have a lot of exchange, not only from Portugal, all countries. Some people are going to the USA, but also some colleagues, and we have a lot of colleagues that had the interest. Okay, I would like to live during a period in I don't know, Switzerland, France, or I would like to work at the headquarters because at the headquarters you have the opportunity to contact with all countries. It's common, and it's very part of our work way of managing the talent management in our company.
I have just a little question because Inês mentioned the feeling of a startup in Lidl. I would like to know what's the reason behind that. If it's I don't know how young Lidl is, but is it because of their reason, or is it because the mentality of the company and what they are trying to achieve? If it's because they're always trying to be more effective, and this mentality is what brings this startup feeling, or is the recent side of the company that brings that feeling?
The feeling of the buzz that Inês was
Of
saying.
a startup, yes, that Inês mentioned.
It's because the concept, if you look at it, it's not. It's quite a simple concept that you are trying to replicate in different countries, and this gives us or gives Lidl the less how you say it's less fixed regarding the procedures and the because it's simple to replicate. You can expand more easily. You have less constraints. The concept is the concept that works in Spain. You have to adapt it very slightly in Portugal. You have always the component of the national suppliers, but this concept gives you less structure in a certain way regarding the how it's done. So we have to do it like this because you have to be able to adapt. And this is part of our reality. USA is a complete different reality from Europe because they have a lot of specifications, either by trucks, either by the dock stations. And these details makes you. It's essential to be flexible. I don't know if this answered your question. Okay. Okay. So if you don't have any more questions, we will still have some colleagues here from HR and also from the logistics department. So if you saw something that was okay, why was it that? Why do you organize the warehouse like that? Please feel free to question also the colleagues and share also your opinions because in some cases we ask and sometimes it's done like that because it was always done like that. And it's always important to question the why we do it. Yes? Okay.
And let me just add that we also have like a summer internship. And I don't know, I'm trying again to put myself on your shoes, and you can come and see in that summer because it's a very short period. You can do like what we call in Portugal, teste do cheirinho, and see if you like. Well, it's a if you want, just ask our HR colleagues if you can apply, and then you see what happens in Lidl while being in Lidl. So it might be interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. So different procedures, but the HR colleagues will also can tell you when, how, and you can also apply and see what's the best fit for you. Yeah. Okay. Thank you for your interest. Okay.
Bye. Alô?